Chapter 3198. A Good Romance. BQG 6. Ling Han laughed. What a coincidence, I've never met anyone who can last one exchange with me. How many of my moves can you block? Tit for tat, not losing a single bit of momentum. In the stands, everyone's blood was boiling, and their passion began to burn. In truth, what was so good about a one-sided battle? Only evenly matched opponents would be interesting. Come, let's fight. I'm still waiting to see someone eat a chair, said Ling Han. In the viewing platform, Qi Suifeng's face was as black as ink. He really wanted to charge down and fight Ling Han. But let alone the rules, even if he could go down, he wouldn't go down. What, was he looking for a beating? He clearly knew how terrifying Tuoba Tianhuang was. An opponent that even Tuoba Tianhuang had to be serious about, so how could he be his match? Good. Tuoba Tianhuang smiled. This was a happy smile, one that came from someone who had been unrivaled for too long. It was rare for him to encounter a good opponent. He finally assumed an offensive stance, as if it was the beginning of a palm technique. Everyone thinks that 12 meridians is the limit of the meridian opening realm, but that's not the case. Other than the 12 standard meridians, there are 8 hidden meridians. So the peak of the meridian opening realm should be 20 meridians. Your strength isn't any weaker than mine. You should have opened a few extraordinary meridians. Haha, everyone thinks I'm suppressing my realm for this competition and haven't stepped into the blood transformation realm. What they don't know is that I'm only trying to open 8 hidden meridians. His words were spread to every corner of the stage through the loudspeaker, causing a huge commotion. What? 12 meridians isn't the limit of the meridian opening realm? There are 8 hidden meridians. I think I've heard of them before. They're called the 8 extraordinary meridians. Why has no one ever opened them? Didn't you hear what Tuoba Tianhuang said? They're called hidden meridians. If you can sense them so easily, how can they still be called hidden meridians? No wonder Tuoba Tianhuang is so strong. So he has 13, 14, or even higher meridians. Hiss, that Ling Han has also opened his hidden meridians. 2 monsters. Let alone the ordinary people, even the people from the 3 big clans and 6 small clans were shocked. They had indeed heard of the legend of the 8 extraordinary meridians, but they had always thought that it was just a rumor that no one could reach. They didn't expect it to be true, and 2 such super geniuses had suddenly appeared. That Ling Han can be recruited. The vice-captain of the black-green flag. He comes from a remote area and has a clean background. He can be recruited into the clan with great benefits. Immediately get the family to work and tie this kid to our Qi family's war chariot. On the grandstands belonging to the great families, the authoritative figures all issued the same command, which was to recruit Ling Han. This was an outsider with a clean background. They could use the method of recruiting a son-in-law to tie him to their family. In the future, it was very likely that their family would be glorified because of Ling Han. Ling Han looked at Tuoba Tianhuang in astonishment. You actually dared to mention the matter of the 8 extraordinary meridians in public? However, since it had already been announced, he didn't care. He said, I just opened the 3rd hidden meridian this morning. I opened the 3rd hidden meridian at the beginning of the year. It is now complete, and I am currently sensing the 4th. Tuoba Tianhuang said, since that is the case, our cultivation levels can barely be considered the same, so I will not hold anything back. Bang! His clothes suddenly bulged as if they were filled with air. This was the surging of the secret power in his body. The power was too great, and traces of it directly seeped out of his skin. That was why his clothes were bulging. His black hair danced wildly, making him look unruly and unrestrained. Ling Han felt the pressure. This opponent was really not weak. Not only had he opened 15 meridians, but he had also opened the 3rd hidden meridian to the limit. Of course, everyone's limit was different. Thus, even if Ling Han had just opened the 3rd hidden meridian, his strength might not be inferior to Tuoba Tianhuang's. However, those who could open the hidden meridian were all extraordinary geniuses. Thus, it would be difficult for Ling Han to surpass Tuoba Tianhuang in terms of strength. He was already at a disadvantage in terms of strength, and Tuoba Tianhuang was clearly serious. If Ling Han was still careless, wouldn't that be courting death? He was confident that he was invincible, but he definitely wouldn't be blindly arrogant. Ling Han also got into an attacking stance. This was the demon monkey fist. Both of them clearly hadn't made a move, but in the eyes of the crowd, a storm was brewing. Look, doesn't Tuoba Tianhuang look like a blade? How strange. He's clearly a person, but why does he give me the feeling of a blade? Furthermore, when he slashes with his blade, there's nothing it can't cut through. Ling Han is the same. He's like an ancient demon monkey, his feet on the ground and his hands supporting the sky. It's incomparably terrifying. This is a kind of aura. Logically speaking, only when one's cultivation reaches the blood transformation realm and their blood chi surges will they have a chance to form such an aura. But now, the battle intent of these two is too strong. Or, in other words, their mastery of techniques has already reached an incomparably high level. This naturally forms an aura. Someone explained that this was a blood transformation expert. Then according to Senior's opinion, who is stronger? That expert muttered to himself for a moment before shaking his head. We'll only know after they fight. Now, no one believed that Tuoba Tianhuang would definitely win. Ling Han also had 15 meridians. Although he was slightly weaker, this was already a true battle between people in the same realm. Either side could win, and either side could lose. Come. Tuoba Tianhuang roared softly. His figure charged out, and as his palms slashed out, the force behind them surpassed the speed of sound. Waves of sound formed, and they formed the shape of a saber that slashed at Ling Han. Ling Han was fearless. He used the demon monkey fist, and a fist imprint also stacked together with sound waves. Bang, 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 bang. When the two forces collided, a heavy sound rang out. Then came the sound of an incomparably concentrated collision. After a long time, the saber imprint and fist imprint both disappeared. The two of them are too terrifying. They have at least 10 layers of power stacked together. So after their first exchange, the two forces continued to clash like a hailstorm. A blood transformation expert was pushed onto the stage. This kind of battle was something that ordinary people, even those with 12 meridians, couldn't understand. Someone needed to explain. According to what I know, the Tuoba family's Azure Lightning Fist only has 9 layers of gravity. Furthermore, Tuoba Tianhuang should be using a saber art. He's only using his palm, so it's definitely not the Azure Lightning Fist. I've also never seen Ling Han's fist art before. The two of them must have had an incredible fortuitous encounter. Everyone's eyes turned red with envy. In a situation where one's realm didn't change, cultivating a stronger martial technique was undoubtedly the most practical way to increase one's combat strength. And Ling Han and Tuoba Tianhuang were hiding such a huge secret. In truth, Ling Han didn't want to use the demon monkey fist in public, but he had to obtain the mystical cloud fruit. So he had to win. Then let's fight. Phone reading is more refreshing. Chapter 3200. BQG 6, CC BQG 6. CC Tuoba Tianhuang and Ling Han's battle had returned to the essence of the meridian opening realm. It was a competition of power, a competition of how much power they could stack. It's time to end this. Tuoba Tianhuang roared. His voice was so loud that a great many people on the spectators' grandstands involuntarily covered their ears. He leaped high into the air and pounced towards Ling Han. His palm struck down, and it was as if he was holding a heavenly saber in his hand that could split open the earth. At this point, no one doubted Ling Han's strength. He was a supreme genius on the same level as Tuoba Tianhuang. But there was no first place in literature and no second place in martial arts. Today, one of them had to fall. Who could it be? Ling Han also let out a long howl. He activated the Monkey King's cultivation technique. 2, 2, 2. His heartbeat accelerated, and more blood gushed out, speeding up the circulation of his blood. This also allowed his body to explode with more potential than usual. Break. He swung his fist. Bang 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 bang. As they clashed, sharp sounds rang out incessantly, and Tuoba Tianhuang was forcefully sent flying. What? Everyone in the viewing gallery had their eyes protruding out from their sockets, unable to believe what they had just witnessed. Was Ling Han going to win? Tuoba Tianhuang landed on the ground, a trace of blood at the corner of his mouth. Just now, he had circulated his cultivation technique, causing his power to stack 18 times. He hadn't expected that he would be heavily injured in this exchange. Ling Han's fist contained at least 19, perhaps even 20, layers of power. Just how shocking was their raw power? Both of them were at least 100,000 pounds. How could he not be injured after being struck by one or two such waves of power? And this was Tuoba Tianhuang. A normal 12-meridian cultivator would have long since been blown to bits. Your cultivation technique is above mine, and the same is true for your fist art. Tuoba Tianhuang sighed. I admit defeat because I have too few techniques in the meridian opening realm. Once I advance to the blood transformation realm, I definitely won't lose to you in the same realm. This was the truth. In a situation where both sides had the same amount of raw power, if one side had a superior cultivation technique or martial skill, they would be able to unleash greater power and gain the upper hand. This was the meridian opening realm, and it was a competition of power. Ling Han smiled faintly. He could defeat Tuoba Tianhuang now, so as his cultivation level increased, the gap between him and Tuoba Tianhuang would only widen. A draw was impossible. Sure, I'm looking forward to it. He nodded, but said such a sentence. Well, as a person, he had to keep a low profile. Tuoba Tianhuang turned and left. Since he had already been defeated, what was the point of staying? Only when his figure disappeared in the aisle did sparse applause ring out from the stands. Then, the applause became more and more intense, and finally turned into a storm. Who could believe that the invincible Tuoba Tianhuang would actually be defeated? Does this mean the end of an era and the beginning of a new one? Ling Han! Ling Han! Ling Han! Everyone in the stands was shouting Ling Han's name. This was the glory that the champion deserved. Heavens, I really can't believe it. Our captain is actually this amazing. The profound Green Banner's warriors were also excited. Before this, they had told Ling Han that second place was already in the bag. They hadn't expected Ling Han to be so amazing that he had even defeated Tuoba Tianhuang. Of course, he's our captain. He's opened 15 meridians. How can he not be amazing? Starting today, our profound Green Banner is number 1 among the 4 banners. Huan Xue was so excited that her face was about to blossom. She clapped her hands as hard as she could, as if she didn't care even if they were broken. Her heart was filled with pride. Who asked you to look down on my young master? Now you know how amazing my young master is. But while some people were happy, there were naturally others who were worried. For example, Qi Suifeng. Before this, he wouldn't have believed that Ling Han could defeat Tuoba Tianhuang. But reality was just so cruel. Tuoba Tianhuang really had been defeated. That meant that he had to eat a chair. What a joke. Putting aside the fact that the chair definitely wouldn't taste good, as the most outstanding descendant of the Qi clan's younger generation, how could he lose face in front of everyone? He had to quickly slip away. Hey, Qi Suifeng, don't even think about slipping away. Unexpectedly, Ling Han's voice rang out, and it echoed throughout the entire martial arts stadium through the sound amplification device. Don't even think about slipping away. There was even an echo. In an instant, Qi Suifeng discovered that countless eyes were staring at him. Even though most of them were ordinary people, he still felt as if he was being pricked by needles. I made a bet with Qi Suifeng. If I defeat Tuoba Tianhuang, he has to eat a chair, and it will be from the city lord's residence. I've already brought the chair. In a while, Qi Suifeng will be performing in front of everyone. I hope that everyone won't be in a hurry to leave and watch, said Ling Han. The stands were too big. He naturally couldn't find Qi Suifeng among the 200,000 people. But it didn't matter. His words would be magnified. Qi Suifeng, if you're willing to bet, you must be willing to lose. Come. When everyone heard this, they were all delighted. When others won the competition, they would either be so excited that they would shed tears, or they would be so excited that they would dance with joy. Who would be as calm as Ling Han? He actually thought of the bet he had with someone else first, as if this was what he valued more. The little maid immediately carried the chair and jumped into the competition grounds. She was now at 8 meridians. Carrying a chair and jumping over a 6 jong tall wall was a piece of cake. F*ck, they really had to prepare a chair, and it wasn't the normal version either. It was from the City Lord's residence. Would the taste of the City Lord's residence's chair be better? Chi Suifeng was the center of attention. How could he slip away? Although he really wanted to slip away, if he slipped away now, he wouldn't be able to raise his head in Hidden Tiger City in the future. If you're willing to bet, you must be willing to lose. Go down. An old voice sounded, full of dignity. Chi Suifeng's heart instantly trembled. This was the City Lord's housekeeper Mu. Hiss, this was an extreme bone realm expert speaking. How could he dare to disobey? Helpless, Chi Suifeng could only walk towards the center of the arena. His pace was extremely slow, as if he was walking into hell. In a way, that was indeed the case. But no matter how slow he was still able to reach Ling Han's side. Eat, said Ling Han with a smile. Ling Han, don't go too far. I am a direct disciple of the Qi family. If you insult me like this, the family will definitely not let you off, said Chi Suifeng through gritted teeth. Ling Han rolled his eyes. I was originally afraid that you would have indigestion, so eating one leg would have been enough. But since you're threatening me like this, haha, then I won't take any less. Eat it all. Chi Suifeng couldn't help but cry. He really had a cheap mouth to provoke this fiend. From Ling Han's series of actions in the City Lord's residence, he knew that this fellow was not someone who was afraid of trouble. It was over. He had spun a cocoon around himself. Eat it. There's a lot, so you don't need to worry about not being full, said Ling Han very considerately. Eat, eat. On the viewing platform, the people who had come to watch the show began to clamor. Reading on the phone was more refreshing. Chapter 3201. A Good Romance. BQG 6. Chi Suifeng's face was ashen. He stretched out his hands numbly, snapped off a chair leg, and put it in his mouth to chew. Very quickly, the chair leg was gone. Since he had to eat it, the faster he ate it, the better. He could spit it out as soon as he got out. How's the taste? Ling Han asked from the side. Meanwhile, the little female attendant's face was already scrunched up in a bitter frown. Just looking at the way Ling Han was chewing was enough to make her panic. Chi Suifeng numbly handed over an armrest, not saying a word. His meaning was very simple. If you want to know how it tastes, then come and try it. Ling Han tactfully refused. A gentleman doesn't take what others like. Please enjoy. Chi Suifeng numbly retracted his hand. Catcher. He took a bite, and the sound was crisp. Eat slowly. No need to rush. No one is going to take it from you. Ling Han patted Chi Suifeng's shoulder and left. It was time to receive the prize. The prize for the first place was personally handed out by Butler Mu of the City Lord's mansion. When he handed over the prize to Ling Han, he gave Ling Han a deep look. Young man, you have a very promising future. Thank you, senior. Ling Han accepted the prize, feeling very happy. He wondered if his spiritual power would be strong enough to release the Empress and the others after eating this mystical cloud fruit. He was impatient and was about to leave, but before he left, he saw two people walking towards him. Lian Shuarong and Sun Jianfang. Lord Sect Leader. Ling Han hurriedly clasped his hands and bowed. He was very respectful to Sun Jianfang. Very good, very good. Sun Jianfang nodded and patted Ling Han's shoulder, smiling. Sect Leader, has your hidden illness been eliminated? Ling Han asked. It has been eliminated, but it still affected my lifespan. Lian Shuarong said, Blood Transformation Realm should have an additional 30 years of lifespan. Every small realm increases another 3 to 5 years of lifespan. But because the blood transformation process is very domineering and will seriously harm the body, the increased lifespan is mostly offset by it. Unless Mr. Sun can break through to the extreme bone realm within 20 years, otherwise, she did not continue, but her meaning was clear. Sun Jianfang could probably live for another 20 years or so. Sun Jianfang, on the other hand, was very open-minded. He smiled and said, "It's fine. I'm already very satisfied to be able to come to Xianbei Nation to see the golden age of martial art. Next, I'll leave it to fate." Ling Han did not speak, but he secretly swore in his heart that he would definitely refine the corresponding medicinal pill in the future to help Sun Jianfang break through as soon as possible and resolve the crisis of his lifespan. After talking for a while, Sun Jianfang and Lian Shuarong let Ling Han go back. However, Lian Shuarong made Ling Han return to the team in 3 days. They might be going on a mission. Ling Han agreed and brought the little maid back. He guessed that many people would come to visit him, so he changed to another inn. No, it was time to take the medicine. It was time to eat the fruit. Ling Han opened the box. There was a jade box inside. He opened the box again, and there was a purplish black fruit inside. It was not big, and it was like a walnut. Ling Han first looked, then smelled, and observed the faint patterns on the fruit. He nodded. This was definitely the Wonder Cloud fruit. It was exactly as described. He no longer hesitated and immediately picked up the fruit to eat. This kind of treasure fruit did not need to be washed. It was naturally untainted by dust. Ling Han originally thought that it would be very bad. After all, he had eaten treasure fruits before. He did not expect that the Wonder Cloud fruit would actually taste so good. He chewed twice. He wanted to eat a few more mouthfuls, but he found that the fruit was already gone. Too little. Ling Han sighed. Speaking of which, he was actually a foodie. In just a short while, he felt that the Wonder Cloud fruit's effects were starting to show. His spiritual power was rapidly increasing. Originally, his spiritual power was at most able to grab a brush. It could be said that it was next to nothing. This was mainly used to communicate with runes. But now, he believed that he could grab 2 brushes at the same time. Moreover, it was still increasing. If this spiritual power was a little stronger, wouldn't he be able to use weapons to attack? Telekinesis was invisible, and unlike hands, it would not be confined to the body. It could be released, and it could even attack from the back. It was impossible to guard against. I have to be careful in the future. Ling Han nodded. Otherwise, if he encountered a telekinesis master, he would definitely be hit if he was careless and attacked from the back. The treasure fruit of heaven and earth did not require Ling Han to participate. It was just that he felt his heart beating faster and his head swelling. It seemed to have doubled in size and was still increasing. But when he looked in the mirror, there was no change. This was an illusion formed by the increase in spiritual power. It was squeezing the sea of consciousness. About an hour later, Ling Han calmed down. Other than his face burning, eyes red, and a buzzing in his head, everything had returned to normal. He tried to use his telekinesis, and the stack of books on the table suddenly floated. It was very strange. This was not formed by the release of force, but by telekinesis. Compared to before, the strength has increased by more than 10 times. The effect of a Wonder Cloud fruit is so awesome. This can only mean that my foundation is too low. That's why there was such a big improvement. Ling Han nodded. He believed that if he had another Wonder Cloud fruit, his improvement would be very ordinary. Let's try again and see if I can let Luan Xing and the others out. Ling Han looked inside his body and had already located the queen. He then pushed her, wanting to pull her out. "Who is it?" the queen immediately shouted, full of dignity. She was a 4-step cultivator. Ling Han could not speak, so he could only use his telekinesis to touch her and convey his longing. "Ling Han," the queen said immediately. This was Ling Han's body, and if there was anyone strong enough to affect her here without being discovered, it could only be Ling Han. Ling Han lightly brushed her, indicating his agreement. "You can't speak, and you can't use your divine sense, right?" the queen said. "If you are, brush me twice. If not, brush me once." Ling Han brushed her twice. The queen nodded. "You're injured." Ling Han brushed her once. The queen breathed a sigh of relief. "That means that the world outside is very special, and your strength is limited." Although it was not quite right, it was close enough. Ling Han brushed her twice. "Big sister, who are you talking to?" The heavenly phoenix divine maiden walked over. "Ling Han." "Ah, husband." The heavenly phoenix divine maiden instantly became excited. Although they had only parted for a few months, they were most worried because Linghan had gone to an unknown world, and no one knew what Linghan would face. Instantly, Liu Yutong, Li Sai-chan, and the other women all ran over. Linghan's spiritual power was not strong enough, so he could not convey his thoughts, nor could he carve words on the ground. He could only express through a light brush. However, this gave Linghan a strong sense of confidence. He believed that if his spiritual power was a little stronger, he would be able to communicate with the people in his body, and if he was a little stronger, he would be able to release them. Cell phone reading was more refreshing. Chapter 3202. A Good Romance. BQG 6. Ceciling Han conversed with the girls for a long time before he reluctantly ended. Now, his thirst for power was even more intense. To release everyone from their bodies required psychic energy. But without powerful strength, how could he obtain treasures that could increase psychic energy? In the end, everything depended on strength. Linghan considered for a moment before bringing the little maid girl to the compassionate medicinal hall. Next, he was going to the black-green banner. He was worried about letting a young lady like Huanxue move to a place full of men. Furthermore, this was against the rules. He had never heard of anyone bringing their family into the barracks. Therefore, he decided to let Huanxue live in the compassionate medicinal hall. After all, there were 3 medicines that he would get a share of. It was normal to arrange for someone to look after them. Furthermore, as the importance of the compassionate medicinal hall rose, the city lord's mansion would pay attention to it. It was impossible to let anyone tear it down. This place was very safe. Linghan brought Huanxue to the medicinal hall. After explaining the purpose of his visit, Mo Guohao happily agreed. He would take good care of Huanxue. After staying here for 2 days, Linghan naturally ran into Zhong Yangbi. Looking at Zhong Yangbi's expression, TSK, he really thought of him as an enemy. Using these 2 days, Linghan bought the materials and planned to create the blood transformation realm killing formation as soon as possible. But he couldn't rush it, so he decided to do it in the black-green banner. After dealing with the miscellaneous matters, 3 days passed. Linghan took a large bag and set off for the black-green banner's barracks. He sighed ruefully. If only he had a spatial artifact. The current him, no matter how he looked at it, he looked like a thief who had just committed a crime. Entering the black-green banner's barracks, Linghan was warmly welcomed. Defeating Tuoba Tianhuang and winning first place in the martial competition. With great difficulty, Linghan squeezed out of the crowd and put down his luggage. This large bag was filled with clothes. Linghan continued to study the middle-grade formation patterns. These formation patterns were really a very difficult thing to learn. After learning them, they would automatically disappear from one's mind, but when drawing them, one would need to combine a few or even more than a dozen formation patterns. This undoubtedly increased the difficulty by many times. Moreover, an intermediate array foundation was not that simple. Not only did it have high requirements for the array foundation materials, but it also had the same requirements for the ink. Ordinary ink wouldn't do. At the very least, it required the blood of someone at the blood transformation realm. Furthermore, some formation bases had special requirements for species. For example, for an ice-type formation, it required the blood of demonic beasts like ice wolves and frost pythons. For a blazing flame formation, it required the blood of demonic beasts like flame beasts. The killing formation Linghan wanted to set up didn't have such high requirements. As long as it was the blood of someone at the blood transformation realm, it would be fine. If there was a requirement, it would be the fresher the better. However, I seem to lack everything right now. Linghan sighed. The array foundation needed for a mid-grade array formation was abnormally precious, and most importantly, it couldn't be bought. Even Old Man Nyo didn't have it in stock, so he could only go to the Formation Dao Association to get it. However, he wasn't from the Formation Dao Association, so how could he do that? Forget it, he would cross the bridge when he reached it. He would first familiarize himself with the array runes and study the Tao of Alchemy. As long as he had the ingredients, he would be able to refine it. It seemed much simpler. Before Ling Han could start his closed-door cultivation, he was called over by Lian Shuerong. Not only him, but all the members of Small Team 7 were also called over. "I have a mission for all of you," Lian Shuerong said seriously. "I promise to complete it." Tang Hai and the other 8 immediately shouted loudly. Ling Han gritted his teeth. Was there a need to shout so loudly? He followed suit and said, "I promise to complete it." It was extremely out of step. Lian Shuerong nodded. It was said that a demonic beast appeared in the 1,000 Lotus Mountain. It should be from the 12 lineages. It often comes out of the mountain to harm the townspeople. You guys go and find it and destroy it. I promise to complete it. Tang Hai and the other 8 shouted loudly again. F***CK Ling Han sighed. I promise to complete it. It was still very out of step. Go. Lian Shuerong waved her hand. Ling Han and the other 8 walked out of Lian Shuerong's room. All of them had relaxed expressions. Originally, it would take a lot of effort to kill a 12 Meridians demonic beast, and there might even be casualties, Tang Hai said with a smile. However, with Ling Han's participation this time, it will be a piece of cake. Everyone laughed. Ling Han's battle prowess far surpassed that of a 12 lineages demonic beast. Even if all 9 of them attacked together, they probably wouldn't be a match for Ling Han. Yeah. If only Ling Han had come earlier, Vice Captain Lu wouldn't have died. Zhong Honglang sighed emotionally. Their original vice captain had unfortunately died during an operation to eliminate demonic beasts. Everyone's mood immediately sank. To them, the feelings of comrades in arms might not be as weak as parental love or romantic love. All right, let's not talk about such sad things. Pack your luggage. We'll leave in half an hour. Tang Hai waved his hand. Yes, Captain, everyone replied in unison. Ling Han's mouth was half open. Damn, they were out of step again. Half an hour later, all 10 of them had packed their luggage and were ready to leave. Tang Hai led the way, followed by the 9 others. Ling Han brought up the rear because he was the vice captain. Their destination was 1,000 Lotus Mountain, which wasn't close to Hidden Tiger City. Based on their speed, it would take them 10 days to get there. Actually, if they weren't going to 1,000 Lotus Mountain, it would only take a day or 2 to fly there by helicopter. However, ever since the world had changed, many mountains had undergone inexplicable changes. Aircrafts couldn't get close at all, or they would suddenly lose their momentum and fall from the sky. Falling from a height of a few hundred meters was guaranteed to shatter every bone in the illuminating pulse realm. Therefore, if they wanted to fly there, they would have to walk around the mountain. That would take a lot of time. Then there was no need to go through so much trouble. They could just use their legs and treat it as training. Of course, if they used a spaceship like Lian Shuerong's, it would be different. They wouldn't be disturbed at all and could fly steadily. But was it really necessary to use a spaceship to exterminate a 12 Meridian demonic beast? They traveled west, passing through mountains and rivers. After the world had changed, the rivers had changed the most. Rivers that used to be dozens of meters wide were now several kilometers wide. There were even giant rivers that were hundreds of kilometers wide. They didn't know where all the water came from, but they hadn't dried up yet. This was within the borders of Xianbei. The current emperor was wise beyond compare, appointing virtuous officials with clear discipline. The common people lived in peace, so no one was forced to become a bandit or engage in a worthless business. Of course, some people were born cruel and didn't need to be forced to walk that path. Therefore, the Black-Green Flag's mission was to exterminate these bandits and demonic beasts. They arrived at 1,000 Lotus Mountain without incident. Ling Han gazed into the distance. 1,000 Lotus Mountain's name really suited the scenery. The mountain peaks stood tall like blooming lotus flowers. But wasn't this place a little too big? It was more refreshing to read on the phone. Chapter 3204. A Good Romance. BQG 6. Who would have thought that the seemingly internal strife between the braided man and the red-clothed girl was actually just to numb Ling Han's group, waiting for them to show signs of impatience or slacken their concentration for the attack to suddenly arrive. It was very sudden. Although Tang Hai had roared, Not everyone was able to retreat at the first instant. Ling Han took a step forward and punched out with his fist. A terrifying force was unleashed. Under the release of the force, it was almost tangible. Pa, 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 pa. The incoming crossbow bolts were all broken by his arrow and fell to the ground. Under the suppression of absolute power, everything else was fabricated. Amazing, the braided man murmured. Quite handsome. The red-clothed girl covered her face with both hands and pretended to be shy. Not a single one died. A third person's voice came from the forest. F***CK, this is too disrespectful. Again, shoo, shoo, shoo. Another wave of crossbow bolts flew over. This time, everyone was prepared and raised the weapons in their hands to parry. Ding, ding, ding. They cut down the crossbow bolts and felt their arms go slightly numb. The power attached to the crossbow bolts was very shocking, but it was precisely because of this that they were even more shocked. How strong did Ling Han have to be able to completely destroy the first wave of crossbow bolts with one punch? Why don't you guys die? A short man rushed out from the trees. His hair was messy like a chicken's nest. He glared angrily at Ling Han's group of 10. I, Wang Baixing, have attacked twice and not even a drop of blood can be seen. Isn't this a disgrace to my reputation? Tang Hai and the others were soldiers and had strict discipline. They could only attack criminals. Thus, although the braided man and red-clothed girl had spoken rudely earlier, they had tolerated it. But it was different now. Someone had attacked them with the goal of killing them. This was equivalent to provoking Xianbei country. They could not tolerate this. According to the laws of the empire, kill. Tang Hai pointed his sword at Wang Baixing. Kill. Liu Jing and the others also pointed their weapons at Wang Baixing and shouted. They immediately charged over. Ling Han did not move. Wang Baixing only had 12 meridians. Tang Hai and the others were enough to deal with him. He only needed to watch the braided man and the woman in red. Stupid shorty, can't you make the mechanism a little more powerful? The braided man shouted. We don't have enough time, shouted Wang Baixing as he fought against Tang Hai and the others. He was short, but his saber was longer than him, which made him look very out of place. However, when he brandished his saber, a strong gust of wind whistled behind him. The saber's momentum was incomparably vigorous, showing that his strength was extremely tyrannical. Clink, 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 clink. The sounds of weapons colliding rang out incessantly. Everyone here was at least 9 meridians and could release their force externally. Thus, the battle was not just about the collision of weapons. Every punch, every palm, and every kick could not be ignored. Wang Baixing's individual combat strength was very outstanding, much stronger than Tang Hai's. It was estimated that it would not be a problem for him to fight 1 against 2, but there were a total of 9 people in the 7th squad, and their combined strength would definitely surpass 2 Tang Hai's. Therefore, after a few moves, Wang Baixing was at a disadvantage. Stupid shorty, do you need help? Laughed the girl in red. Pa, I don't need your help. You're trying to trick me into bed again. Wang Baixing spat, then shouted at the top of his lungs, braided, come and help me. Damn, and here he was thinking how brave and unyielding he was. The braided man chuckled. All right, I won't play anymore, lest the night is fraught with dreams. He strode towards the battle. Ding-ling-ling, the bells jingled. Boom, a terrifying force streaked past in front of him, forcing him to stop in his tracks. The braided man looked at Ling Han in surprise. It was Ling Han who had acted and stopped him in his tracks. The 2 of you stay here obediently, said Ling Han. Little handsome, I can play with you. The girl in red jumped over and shook her fat butt, making one want to vomit. Ling Han had originally only wanted to hold the fort and let Tang Hai and the others deal with the 3 of them one by one. But after being disgusted by the girl in red, he could no longer endure it. He charged forward and punched. Bang, there was clearly still a distance of 10 meters between them, but the girl in red's expression changed greatly. Crackling sounds came from her body, and she was sent flying. Drawing an arc in the air, she landed heavily on the ground. Her entire body was flattened, and fresh blood seeped out, dyeing the grass beneath her red. She would definitely grow fat in the coming year. Stupid B****, stupid B****, shouted the braided man. But the only reply he got was a blob of blood that grew larger and larger. Hiss. The stupid B**** had been killed with a single punch. The braided man's heart beat wildly. Although there were only 3 of them, they were not afraid of Ling Han's numbers. Because the 3 of them not only had 12 meridians, but they were also much stronger than ordinary 12 meridians. But the members of the black-green flags? They knew very well that only the captain of the team had 12 meridians, and the others only had 11 or 10 meridians. Thus, the 3 of them could easily suppress them, and did not need to worry at all. However, the reality was so cruel. One punch, and she had been killed instantly. Just the thought of this terrifying strength caused cold sweat to drip from his forehead. He had to run quickly, or he would be courting death. Ling Han smiled slightly. Let me give you a word of advice. If you don't want to die immediately, don't run. The braided man laughed dryly, and could only give up on the idea of running. The pressure that the young man in front of him gave him was too terrifying. He felt that if he really did run, he would definitely not be able to escape the fate of being killed instantly. He clearly also had 12 meridians. Tell me, why are you here? Asked Ling Han. The braided man's eyes darted around. After a while, he said carefully, can I not tell? No. Ling Han shook his head. What will happen if you don't tell? He asked again. Probably about the same as her. Ling Han pointed at the girl in red on the ground. The braided man thought for a moment, sighed, and said, then I still choose. Shio, he suddenly charged out, and with a wave of his hand, a piece of paper flew out. Then, there was immediately a burst of black light, and it turned into a black cheetah that pounced towards Ling Han. It was very fast, and arrived in front of Ling Han in a flash. Yet Ling Han did not take it to heart. The power of this seal soldier was only 12 meridians, and could not withstand a single blow. He knew that the braided man's true goal was to escape. What wishful thinking. He punched out, and peng, the black cheetah was immediately shattered by him. Even the talisman paper was split into 2, and it quickly dimmed. King monster, the braided man shouted in his heart. He knew that Ling Han was terrifying, but he did not think that he was powerful to this extent, right? He hurriedly ran faster, but he felt a pain in his chest, and he spat out a mouthful of blood. Then, he fell to the ground, and sank into eternal darkness. Cell phone reading is more refreshing. Chapter 3205. A Good Romance. BQG 6. I accidentally used too much force and killed him. Ling Han scratched his head. But it's okay, there's still one left alive. He looked towards Shorty Wang Baixing and couldn't help but open his mouth a little wider. Because he had just seen Wang Baixing get hacked to death by Tang Hai and the others. Damn, not a single one was left alive. How were they going to interrogate him? Vice Captain is amazing, Zhong Honglang praised. The 9 of us only managed to kill one, but Vice Captain has already taken care of 2. Vice Captain is awesome. Vice Captain likes it. Everyone flattered him, but this was also the truth. Ling Han sighed. They were all killed by you guys. Who are we going to interrogate? Everyone had a bitter look on their faces. We were so excited about the fight that we forgot to keep them alive. Vice Captain still has 2 more. We thought it would be fine to kill them. Who would have thought that Vice Captain would finish them off so quickly? In short, all 3 of them were dead. Not a single one was left alive. Let's see if there are any clues on their bodies, Tang Hai said. They searched for a while, but did not find anything useful. Strange, what is their relationship with the demonic beast? Why did they stop us from entering? Could it be that this demonic beast was raised by them? That's impossible. Firstly, no one would be so crazy. Secondly, they are only 12 meridians. They shouldn't be able to raise a 12 meridians demonic beast. Forget it, let's take care of that demonic beast first. Everyone nodded. That was their target this time. As for the identities of the 3mm, they would slowly investigate them in the future. They didn't dare to be careless. They got into an offensive formation and entered the canyon. The canyon was very quiet. Although there were many trees and weeds, there were no sounds of insects, birds, or beasts. It was as if they had entered a fake world. Strange. Be careful. The 10 of them whispered to their teammates. The gorge was still very large, and because there were too many trees, it greatly obstructed one's line of sight. One could only see about 300 feet ahead. However, just by looking at the crooked trees along the way, one could tell that this place had once been trampled by a huge monster. That demonic beast. They kept moving forward, and before long, a lake appeared in front of them. The lake was very big, but because there was no mountain wind blowing, there were no fish swimming in the water. It was like a clear mirror. They only took a glance before withdrawing their gazes and continuing to follow the trail. But everyone had already turned a corner, and Zhong Honglang was still walking forward. Tang Hai and the rest thought that he was going to wash his hands or drink some water, so they did not take it to heart. They only felt that this guy was not following the rules, actually leaving the team without permission. However, they soon realized that something was wrong. Zhong Honglang didn't stop when he reached the lakeside. Instead, he kept walking forward. His feet were already in the water, but he still didn't know how to stop. Then, the water went past his knees and reached his lower abdomen. What is this guy doing? Could it be that he wants to swim here? Zhong Honglang? Tang Hai immediately shouted. However, Zhong Honglang didn't seem to have any intention of paying any attention to him. One step at a time, he continued forward. He didn't float, but rather allowed the water to pass over his chest and continue to rise. What happened? Tang Hai and the rest hurriedly rushed out and jumped into the water, forcibly pulling Zhong Honglang back. Strangely, even though he was clearly being pulled back by everyone, Zhong Honglang still moved forward with both legs. Zhong Honglang! Zhong Honglang! Little Zhong! Everyone called out, but Zhong Honglang acted as if he didn't hear them. His feet continued to move, and he would even use his hands to move in front of him, sometimes lowering his head. It was as if he was passing through a dense forest. Be possessed by the devil, wake him up, Tang Hai said. Slap, slap, slap. They slapped Zhong Honglang's face, but he didn't react at all, and maintained his original posture. Why did this kid suddenly lose his mind? Everyone was puzzled. Ling Han also felt it was strange. Why would he suddenly act up like this? Suddenly, a look of intense terror appeared on Zhong Honglang's face, and he suddenly punched forward. Zhong Honglang, what are you doing? Liu Jing hurriedly dodged. Although he had 11 meridians, he would still be heavily injured if he was hit by a 10 meridians punch. Zhong Honglang seemed to have gone mad. He pulled out his sword and attacked madly. His madness made it difficult for the others to stop him, for fear of injuring him. Therefore, they all retreated when they saw him attack. Zhong Honglang even used strength stacking, and was incomparably domineering for a moment. But under this kind of exhaustion, his strength was quickly used up, and he collapsed on the ground in less than 20 minutes. Captain, you're all still alive, he suddenly said. Everyone looked at each other. They were all alive and well, but this kid had suddenly lost his mind. That's great, everyone's still alive. Zhong Honglang was incomparably emotional, and he hugged Liu Jing, tears flowing out of his eyes. This kid was seriously ill. What did you see? Ling Han asked. We just ran into that demonic beast, and you were all eaten. I fought with my life on the line, and almost died. How did I end up here? Zhong Honglang was bewildered. Of course, this was an illusion. The question was Zhong Honglang daydreaming? No wonder he was so nervous just now, as if he was fighting with his life on the line. Chapter 3206. A Beautiful Romance. BQG 6. It was understandable if one person had lost their mind. But both of them had lost their minds, and they were acting up in the same place, one after the other. This was unbelievable. Something was affecting and controlling Zhong Honglang and Liu Jing. It could be the gas emitted by some plant, or it could be that demonic beast. That was why this place was so quiet, without a single insect, bird, or beast. Damn it, to make us kill each other. Yu Liren clenched his teeth, but he could only pull away and not clash head-on with Liu Jing. Otherwise, someone might be injured. What kind of dog is this? Hurry up and show yourself. If you have the guts, fight 300 rounds with me, Zhu Yongxi shouted. But only Liu Jing wielded his blade fiercely, and not a single demonic beast jumped out. Ling Han moved, and a powerful force shook off Liu Jing's blade. Then, he chopped at Liu Jing's neck with his palm, knocking him out. This time, Liu Jing was completely at ease. But this was not the end. Tang Hai suddenly revealed a ferocious expression, and suddenly threw Zhong Honglang into the air, then slashed out with his blade. This, Ling Han hurriedly moved, but the distance was too far, and he couldn't make it in time. Not to mention that Zhong Honglang had already used up all of his strength. Even if he hadn't, how could he be Tang Hai's match when he was completely defenseless? He couldn't block it either. Captain! Everyone cried out in shock. Were they going to watch as their teammate was killed by one of their own? Ling Han knew that his fist strength was insufficient. He used his mental energy, wanting to deflect the blade in Tang Hai's hand, but he immediately rejected this idea. Although his mental energy had reached the intermediate level, it was only enough to lift a few books. How could it affect a 12 meridians cultivator? That's right. Ling Han transformed his mental energy into a blade and charged towards Tang Hai's consciousness. He believed that whether it was Zhong Honglang, Liu Jing, or Tang Hai, their minds had been affected by a mysterious power. Since this was on the mental level, he might be able to affect Tang Hai as well. The mental attack had no distance or time. With a single thought from Ling Han, his mental energy had already pierced into Tang Hai's sea of consciousness. However, a sinister, chaotic, and incomparably powerful will immediately charged towards Ling Han. Ling Han let out a muffled groan, and his psyche power retreated like a tide. Shua, the saber slashed down, and blood splattered. A tragedy. Everyone couldn't bear to watch. They didn't want to see the tragedy of their comrades being killed, but they forced themselves to open their eyes wide. Zhong Honglang is not dead. Tang Hai's slash was slightly off the mark. It did not hit Zhong Honglang's neck, but it still managed to cut off Zhong Honglang's left arm from the shoulder. Ah! Zhong Honglang screamed in pain. Ling Han snorted. This time, he could naturally conclude that there was a powerful existence controlling Tang Hai, causing him to experience a nightmare. In this nightmare, perhaps Tang Hai was fighting hard to protect his teammates. Damn it, he punched out again, and Tang Hai was instantly smashed to the ground. Gah, gah, gah. Zhu Yongxi let out a strange cry. As if he had changed into another person, he placed his sword across his own neck. I didn't expect to actually encounter someone who also cultivates mental energy. This was definitely not Zhu Yongxi speaking. Rather, someone was controlling his body and speaking. If I kill myself now, can you stop me? Ling Han was just about to act, but Zhu Yongxi had already swiped his saber horizontally. A splash of blood splattered. His body had already gone limp, and he fell to the ground. Xiaozhu. The remaining people all roared angrily, their eyes about to spit fire. They wanted to kill, but the enemy had not even shown his face, and had already injured and killed them. They were not on the same level at all. Ling Han frowned, and his figure leaped out. Peng, 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 he threw out a few punches, knocking out those who were still conscious. Can you still control people? Boom. Instantly, an incomparably powerful psychic power rushed towards Ling Han, wanting to surge into his mind and occupy his consciousness. However, at this moment, Ling Han's chest emitted a purple light. Instantly, as if the psychic power had encountered a flame, it immediately shrank back. Ling Han did not need to look down to know that this was the power of the pendant. Speaking of which, Li Zhangdan's luck was really not bad. She had obtained 2 treasures, the pendant and the jade toad. I'm coming for you, Ling Han said calmly, but there was an indescribable determination in his voice. He took a step forward, and followed the traces along the way. Not long after, the traces of crushing came to an end. In front of him appeared a strange tiger-like demonic beast. It was completely hairless, but it had tentacles that were half a foot long and as thick as a stick. Now, these tentacles were still flickering. Strange, what kind of demonic beast was this? Die! Ling Han charged over. Wang, another psychic attack came, but before it could touch Ling Han, the pendant on his chest showed its power again. The purple light only trembled, and the psychic power was bounced back. Ling Han had arrived, and the demonic beast hurriedly waved its claws, sweeping towards Ling Han. There was a kind of disdain in the demonic beast's eyes. This was something that only an intelligent creature could show. Peng! The man and the demonic beast collided, and there was a muffled sound. Ling Han and the demonic beast's bodies shook at the same time. Peng! 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 The surrounding trees toppled over. The demonic beast's face revealed an obvious look of shock. It was extremely strange to see such shock on the face of a beast. It had previously been full of mockery. Did this human think that just because he had found it, he could kill it? Wrong. Not only was its mental strength outstanding, its physical strength was also not weak. It had reached the blood transformation realm. This brat had a treasure on him that could resist its mental control. However, when this human realized that he had come to die, the expression on his face would definitely be very interesting. It was very expectant, but it never expected that the one who was shocked would be it. How could a 12 meridians cultivator have such great strength? It didn't make sense. After this attack, Ling Han's confidence increased greatly. This demonic beast's mental strength was extremely terrifying. It could control other people's bodies, and it could even do something as heaven-defying as speak. However, its physical body was not very strong. It was only in the early stages of the first blood transformation, and 100,000 kilograms of strength was heaven-defying. Good, kill it. Ling Han let out a long howl, and he swung both his fists at the demonic beast. Peng, peng, peng. His strength could reach up to 3 zhong, which was longer than any weapon. His punches surpassed the speed of sound, and he was practically bombarding the demonic beast from all directions. In the eyes of that demonic beast, Ling Han's fists were really all over, bombarding towards it. A hint of panic appeared on its face. Its forte was mental control. Even if one's cultivation level was just a little higher than it, there was a high possibility that one's mind would be controlled by it, and become its plaything. It could do whatever it wanted. But it had never imagined that Ling Han had a treasure on him that could actually block its mental control. Moreover, it was a demonic beast. This brat was clearly a 12 meridians cultivator, but his strength was comparable to a first blood transformation. Damn it. Phone reading is more refreshing. Chapter 3208. A Good Romance. BQG 6. Ling Han went to Cixin Medicine Hall to take a look. Of course, the little servant girl was very happy. She hadn't seen her young master for more than 20 days. She still maintained a shocking rate of improvement. Spirit gathering formation, improved secret power pill, and pulse probing pill were unlimited. In just 20 days, she advanced from 8 meridians to 9 meridians. She was just a little bit away from becoming an expert who could release force. The secret power pill was sold every day. The pulse probing pill was still auctioned every 7 days. She had already earned a shocking amount of wealth. In another 5 days, the face preserving pill would also be put on sale. Mo Guohao set a sky-high price, but he believed that the sales would reach a terrifying number. Unfortunately, production was a big problem. Because the pill recipe was far too important, Mo Guohao had only passed it on to his disciple, Zhong Yangbi, whom he valued the most. With just the two of them concocting the pill, even if they combined their efforts, they wouldn't be able to achieve even 1/10 of the efficiency. One had to know that Ling Han could refine several batches of pills at the same time with a 100% success rate. Ling Han didn't force it. Anyway, he didn't need to do anything. There was no need to be too calculative about it. The demon beast brought back by the 7th squad was brought to the City Lord's mansion. This kind of demon beast that was good at mind control was almost unheard of. Moreover, it might have been raised by someone. Naturally, Feng Zixing was alarmed. Ling Han also took out the blood-colored crystal and studied it carefully. He believed that this matter was very important. Somewhere. Sir, there was a small mistake. A man in black knelt on the ground. In front of him stood a man shrouded in blood-colored light. His face couldn't be seen clearly, Only his waist-length black hair could be seen. He had a terrifying aura that made people suffocate. The man shrouded in blood-colored light was tasting wine. Hearing this, he paused. What mistake? Test subject number 39 was killed. The man in black said, not daring to get up. No matter how many times he was in front of this sir, he would feel incomparable awe and fear from the bottom of his heart. He couldn't suppress it no matter what. Didn't you get the test subject back? The man shrouded in blood-colored light said indifferently. He didn't lose his composure at all. No, the 3 guardians were all killed in battle, and the experimental subjects were sent to Crouching Tiger City, the man in black said solemnly. Crouching Tiger City. The man shrouded in bloody light nodded. Indeed. The research base is not far from there. My lord, what if they discover something? The black-clothed man wanted to say something but hesitated. He knew clearly in his heart how shameful the things he had done were. Once they were exposed, no one could save him. Even he, the lord with an incomparably high status, could only be beheaded. Is that so? The man shrouded in the blood-red light pondered for a moment. Then let's release all the experimentals and trigger a beast tide to flatten Hidden Tiger City. Hiss, the man in black gasped. Activating a beast tide to flatten Crouching Tiger City was not something that could be done with just a few words. There were countless consequences involved. Sir, even though flattening Hidden Tiger City is not a difficult matter, if a large city is destroyed, His Majesty will definitely be furious, he said with a trembling voice. The current His Majesty was a virtuous person, and everyone respected him. What was even more frightening was his strength, which was peerless and invincible. Moreover, there were still the 4 marshals in the empire. Which one of them did not have the courage to be defeated by tens of thousands of people and the ability to conquer the world? Really, once this matter was investigated, it would be a matter that would cost everyone's head. It's fine. His Majesty is currently breaking through the boundary between heaven and man, so it's impossible for him to be distracted for the time being. In a few days, who can tell if this beast tide was formed naturally or if it was driven by someone? The man shrouded in bloody light smiled faintly, appearing extremely calm. He took another sip of wine and said, Crouching Tiger City took a piece of my blood divine crystal, so I'll make them return it 10-fold, 100-fold. It just so happens that my Tianyi Guiyuan art can also achieve initial success. It's killing 2 birds with 1 stone. The black-clothed man shivered, not daring to speak. In order to cultivate, this lord did not hesitate to plunge the people into misery and suffering, causing rivers of blood to flow. His methods were too vicious. However, he did not even dare to show it. Otherwise, he would definitely not be able to leave this place alive. Yes, I'll go prepare immediately. He could only agree respectfully. When can it be completed? The man shrouded in bloody light asked. 2 to 3 months. The black-clothed man replied. As soon as possible. Yes. Also, although it's only a piece of blood divine crystal, it can't be wasted. Go capture all the relevant personnel and force them to reveal the whereabouts of that piece of blood divine crystal. You must get it back. Yes. After 2 days, Ling Han figured out the function of this blood-colored crystal. When he used his mental power to guide it, the blood-colored crystal would also release spiritual power, synchronizing with his, thus increasing the strength of his spiritual power. This was equivalent to increasing his spiritual power by a level. He did not know if there were other uses, such as using it as medicine, or using it with some special technique to truly increase his spiritual power. There was too little information, so he could not speculate. Ling Han put away the blood-colored crystal first, thinking about this later. Another 3 days later, the aristocratic ladies and young mistresses of Crouching Tiger City ushered in an extremely important day. The face-retaining pill was on sale. As soon as the door opened, the Compassionate Heart Medicine Hall was almost broken by these women. It should be known that women have always been in a weak position in cultivation, and there were pitifully few who could really set foot on martial art. Therefore, at least 90% of the people who gathered here early in the morning did not even reach 1 meridian. But the power they burst out was so terrifying. It could only be said that women had a fear of aging that surpassed death, which was why they burst out with such potential. The first batch of 60 face retaining pills was sold out in less than 10 minutes. The price of a single pill was 100,000 shenbei coins, and there was no bargaining, but the speed of sales was so terrifying. This made other pharmacies in the city very jealous, but what could they do? They could not figure out the improved version of the secret power pill, the pulse exploring pill, and could not improve the face retaining pill. They could only watch others make a lot of money. Taking advantage of his free time, Ling Han used 3 days to concoct more than 60 retaining youth pills. Compared to Mo Guohao and Zhong Yangbi, who only produced 60 pills in a month, it was truly a difference between heaven and earth. Of course, it was impossible for him to only take 30% of the pills he refined himself. Mo Guohao had also agreed with him that Ling Han would not charge a consignment fee for the pills he sold in the Compassionate Heart Medicine Hall. However much he sold would be given to Ling Han. Therefore, these 60 face retaining pills were a super high income of 6 million. Making money is so easy. Ling Han sighed. If others knew about this, they would definitely want to kill him with tofu. Easy to make money, my ass. Just like the soldiers of the black-green flag, they risked their lives and only earned 3,000 shenbei coins a month. Who told Ling Han to be the alchemy emperor? If even he felt that it was difficult to make money, who else could make money? When the shares are sent over, I will immediately restart the tycoon formation. Sigh, in front of the tycoon formation, my little fortune is really not enough. Ling Han sighed again. Breaking the anti-theft chapter, please use the search engine to search for keywords. All kinds of novels for you to read. Phone reading is more refreshing. Chapter 3209. A Good Romance. BQG 6. Sisimo Guohao was very efficient. He transferred the profits to Ling Han's account that night. Not only the face retaining pill, but also the improved secret power pill and meridian exploring pill. Although he had only refined a small amount and only received a 30% dividend, it was actually quite a lot after a month. The total was almost 4 million, just enough for Ling Han to set up a nouveau riche array. He handed 60 face retaining pills to Mo Guohao. This should be the current hard currency. It would be sold in the morning when it was put on the shelves tomorrow. Ling Han still had 5 hidden meridians that had not been opened and 1 hidden meridian had not been expanded to the extreme. In theory, he still needed 6 nouveau riche array. He wondered what Feng Zixing would think if he saw such a rich method. Ling Han bought the materials and began to set up the nouveau riche array. Right, what was the real name of this array? Ling Han scratched his head. It was always called nouveau riche array and nouveau riche array. He had forgotten the name of this array. Forget it, it didn't matter. He activated the array. Immediately, rolling power surged into his body. Under the tempering of the Monkey King's technique, it became extremely pure. There were many factors that determined the strength of a martial artist, such as the illuminating pulse realm. The width of one's meridians, the speed at which one's power flowed, as well as the purity of one's power would all affect the power of one's final strike. Thus, if Ling Han wanted to reach his strongest state, he would have to make every single aspect to the extreme. Therefore, 90% of the power that surged into his body was abandoned because it was not pure enough. I want to pursue invincibility, so I can't just be greedy for advancement. Otherwise, it will just be for show. After half a day, Ling Han stopped and revealed a look of satisfaction. The 3rd hidden meridian had been expanded to the extreme and could not be expanded any further. It was time to open the 4th hidden meridian. At the last moment, Ling Han also brought the little servant girl into the array. Because after he reached the extreme, the array should not have completely stopped, so he could not waste it. Ling Han's cultivation speed was already a miracle, and Summon Snow's advancement was also worthy of being recorded in the annals of history. In less than a year, she had started from 0 and reached the peak of 9 meridians. Who could compare? Moreover, the little maid's mental strength was also being developed. Ling Han planned to teach her alchemy and making array foundations after a while. He began to search for the 4th hidden vein. The reason why a hidden vein was called a hidden vein was because it was too difficult to discover. Not even 1 out of 10,000 people would be able to discover it. Even if a hidden vein was opened, It would be extremely difficult to continue to open it one after another. After a night, Ling Han did not make any progress. He had also wasted the time he had spent cultivating when the sun had just risen, because he could no longer make any progress. Lian Shuarong called him over. "I heard you've opened a hidden vein," said the woman. Ling Han nodded. After the blabbermouth, Tuoba Tianhuang, had exposed him in front of everyone, there was no way he could conceal it anymore. "I forgot to tell you a few days ago. Fortunately, you haven't broken through to the blood transformation realm, so it's not too late." Lian Shuarong said, "However, you're only a step away from the blood transformation realm now. I'll tell you the key points of breaking through to the blood transformation realm." Ling Han immediately became serious and straightened his back a little. He had been a little distracted earlier. The corner of Lian Shuarong's mouth twitched. She had an urge to beat up Ling Han. Although she never wanted others to focus on her beauty, being ignored like this by Ling Han made her very unhappy. The blood transformation realm, as the name suggests, is to change the blood in your body once. Every time you completely change it, you'll reach a complete minor realm, Lian Shuarong said. "Don't think that it's easy. Changing blood is just the surface. What really changes is the level of life. This kind of change can be said to be earth-shattering. It requires a huge amount of life force. So trying to break through to the blood transformation realm without any preparations will only exhaust your own life force. Even if you succeed, it will consume a lot of internal energy. You'll look strong on the outside, but you'll be weak on the inside. You'll lose a lot of your lifespan." Ling Han nodded. Sun Jianfang was an excellent negative example. Because he didn't know what was after the meridian opening realm or what he should do, he had relied on his own trial and error to reach the blood transformation realm. However, the price was very high. He had used up over 20 years of his lifespan. Although he had made up for it later, a loss was still a loss. "Then what do I need to prepare?" asked Ling Han. "Treasured fruits that contain life force." Lian Shuarong said, "Medicinal pills won't work, because medicinal pills actually stimulate the life potential of the human body. If you take too much of it, it will be harmful. But treasured fruits are different. They are nurtured by heaven and earth without any side effects. In terms of quantity, the more the better." Lian Shuarong paused for a moment. Everyone needs different amounts of life force to break through to the blood transformation realm. Generally speaking, the stronger you are, the more life force you need. Ling Han sighed. Needless to say, he would definitely need a lot of treasured medicines. "For example, when I broke through to the blood transformation realm, I only used one treasure fruit," said Lian Shuarong. "According to my calculations, you'll need at least 3. Would 3 be enough?" Ling Han decided to prepare 5 treasured fruits before breaking through to the blood transformation realm. Otherwise, he would have to squeeze out all his life force. "You can search for the fruits that contain life force yourself," said Lian Shuarong. She waved her hand, indicating that Ling Han could leave. Ling Han wanted to leave, but he paused and asked, "Flagmaster, are there any clues on that demonic beast's body?" "There are some clues. I'm still investigating." Lian Shuarong nodded. "Good." Ling Han turned to leave. If he found out who was behind the demonic beast, he definitely wouldn't be polite. Returning to his residence, Ling Han used his optical computer to search for treasured fruits that contained life force. There were a lot of them, but with the condition of breaking through to the blood transformation realm, there were only a few. White mist fruit, tiger wolf fruit, phoenix king jade fruit, daffodil lotus seed, bloodvine root. Not only fruits, but also roots. Other than that, ginseng, which was a great tonic, naturally had miraculous effects. However, the age requirement was higher. 500 years was fine, but 1,000 years was even better. What kind of joke was this? Before the world changed, wild ginseng was basically nowhere to be seen. Now, at most, 120 years had passed. Where would there be ginseng that was 500 years old? Of course, it wasn't impossible. After the world changed, some regions emerged from the ground. If there were ginseng growing there, it wouldn't just be 500 or 1,000 years old. It might even be 2,000 or 3,000 years old. There's a price but no supply. Ling Han quickly shook his head. These treasured fruits all grew in extremely dangerous places. Just like the Wonder Cloud fruit, it was extremely difficult to obtain them. But, even if there's no price, it's worth it. Ling Han decided that after he earned enough money, he would set off to find treasured fruits. He believed that with his luck attribute, the chances of finding treasured fruits shouldn't be low. Then let's hurry up and concoct pills. Ling Han entered a frenzied state and concocted pills with all his might. 5 days later, Ling Han calculated that if he sold all these face-halting pills, he would be able to set up the tycoon formation 5 times. Alright, I won't concoct anymore. Cell phone reading is more refreshing. Chapter 3210. A Good Romance. BQG 6. CC. Apart from concocting pills, Ling Han did not forget to search for the 4th hidden meridian. He even split his attention between concocting pills and checking the meridian at the same time. It could not be helped, the Alchemy Emperor could be so capricious. Hard work paid off. 10 days later, Ling Han successfully found the 4th hidden meridian. After opening it in the morning, he used the Tyrant Array to widen it to the extreme. My strength now is about 300,000 kilograms. If all 8 hidden meridians are opened, my strength will probably reach 500,000 or even 600,000 kilograms. If that's the case, I won't have to fear even if the blood chi of the first blood transformation is to boil. However, 200,000 kilograms is only the starting point of the first blood transformation. If I cultivate it to the extreme, I might have 400,000 kilograms of strength. Even if I double that, it will still be 800,000 kilograms, which is still beyond my limit. After all, there is still a huge gap between us. The only shortcoming now is that I don't have a spatial container. Ling Han sighed. He already had 120,000 jade seeds in his hands, which were packed into a gigantic sack. Though the quantity was not a problem, carrying this thing on his back and walking around always gave him a strong feeling of discomfort. However, I have to act soon, or I will unknowingly reach the peak of the blood transformation realm. Ling Han applied for leave from Lian Shuerong. He wanted to go to the Thousand Lotus Mountain again. The Thousand Lotus Mountain was a holy land for gathering herbs. However, ordinary people could only go to a limited number of peaks. Most of the peaks were suppressed by formations, so it was impossible to go up. Ling Han had the confidence to go because he already had quite a high level of attainment in formations. Moreover, he also had that purple pendant. Li Zhongdan, thank you so much. Lian Shuerong readily approved Ling Han's application. In her eyes, Ling Han was not an ordinary person. How could a small Shenqing banner accommodate such a great Buddha? However, before Ling Han started to act, he received a piece of news. Tang Hai had disappeared. He was not Ling Han, who stayed in the army all year round. Now that he had suddenly disappeared, it naturally caused a huge uproar. He chose to be a deserter and ran away. That was impossible. It was an honor to be able to enter one of the 4 banners. Furthermore, the treatment was extremely good. Besides, if they really didn't want to do it anymore, the 4 great banners would also be allowed to retire. They would have to bear the infamy and sacrifice their future benefits as shameful deserters. Could it be that she was kidnapped? Tang Hai was of the 12th lineage. To kidnap him from the camp without anyone noticing, what kind of strength did this require? The blood transformation realm. That was at least the 2nd, 3rd, or even 4th transformation. That was because there was a 3rd transformation expert in the camp. Was this scoundrel not afraid of running into Lian Shuerong? Ling Han muttered to himself. Could this be related to the power behind that demonic beast? Otherwise, he couldn't think of any other possibilities. However, this force was really bold. They actually dared to sneak into the black-green flag and openly abduct people. 2 days later, Tang Hai reappeared. He was found in the river. He was already a corpse. When Tang Hai was alive, he must have been severely tortured, because his body was covered with wounds. His 10 fingers were broken one by one, his left leg was broken at the ankle, and his entire right leg was gone. Only his face was not damaged, but both of his ears were cut off. This kind of tragic scene was unbearable to look at. When Tang Hai's corpse was brought back to the camp, not only were the members of the 7th Squad infuriated, but the entire camp went berserk. Who could be so deranged? When the news spread, the warriors of the Yellow Earth Flag, Heavenly Fire Flag, and Ink Cloud Flag were also filled with righteous indignation. Although they were always competing, it didn't change the fact that they were comrades. If Tang Hai had died on the battlefield, they would have nothing to say. But Tang Hai had clearly been tortured to death. Who wouldn't be angry? The warriors of the 4 banners were all incomparably agitated. All of them were restless, wishing that the murderer would immediately appear in front of them so that they could use the cruelest method to kill him. The entire city was under martial law. But the problem was that to be able to kidnap someone so easily, it had to be a blood transformation expert. If he really wanted to hide, how could meridian opening experts possibly find him? And how many blood transformation and ultimate bone experts were there in the city? In the eyes of blood transformation experts, this kind of martial law was practically useless. An intense desire for power arose in Ling Han. If he was still a celestial exalt, then as long as he spread out his divine sense, he would definitely be able to find the murderer. But now, he shook his head. He had to go to the 1000 Lotus Mountain to find a treasure fruit in preparation for breaking through to the blood transformation realm. Ling Han quietly set off. He didn't know if anyone was watching him, but it was always good to be a bit more careful. He bought a car. After so many days, he had also learned how to drive. With his talent, this was naturally a piece of cake. With a car, he could put the things he needed in the car. He didn't need to carry them on his back. It was as if he had just committed a huge crime. At the start, he was a bit nervous and excited, but after driving for over 50 miles, he calmed down. The road was very bumpy and uneven. Because of the frequent earthquakes, it was impossible to repair roads. It was already not bad that he could drive. However, because Ling Han was a newbie, he had only driven for 5 days before the car collapsed due to the intense wear and tear. He had just learned how to drive, so how could he repair a car? He could only push the car to the side of the road, put his belongings on his back, and continue on his way. However, after traveling for a day, Ling Han stopped and found a secluded place to set up a formation of tycoons. He sensed the 5th hidden meridian. Half a day later, this meridian had been opened to the extreme. Very good, there were still 3 left. Ling Han continued on his way. Another 5 days later, he returned to the 1000 Lotus Mountain. According to the information, there is a Phoenix King tree on the Embracing Peak. It already bore fruit more than 10 years ago. One tree can bear 7 to 8 fruits. Based on the tree's age, this tree will bear fruit every year for at least the next 100 years. If I can pick all of them, not only will I be able to break through to the blood transformation realm, I will also be able to obtain the treasure fruit for breaking through to the 2nd transformation realm. Yes, but I don't know if the treasure fruit can be stored for too long. The road in the mountain was not easy to walk. 3 days later, Ling Han arrived at the bottom of the Embracing Peak. There is a formation suppression here. The closer we get to the peak, the stronger the suppression. It is said that this Phoenix King tree was discovered by a formation master. However, he could only see it from afar and was unable to get close. Ling Han was a little curious. Why were there formations on these mountains? Did the people of the previous civilization have nothing better to do? Also, how did this civilization suddenly disappear without a trace? I didn't interact much with Monkey King before. Now that I have cultivated my mental power, I think about it. Monkey King's strength is simply unfathomable. Hey, could Monkey King being suppressed have something to do with the previous civilization? Otherwise, in a small place like the ancient Tao sect, what kind of existence could suppress Monkey King? Reading on the phone is more refreshing. Chapter 32:12. A Good Romance. BQG 6. Ling Han walked quickly, and as he walked, he continued to inscribe formation patterns on the magnetic stones. I threw it. He threw out another magnetic stone. Under the influence of the array formation, the magnetic stone floated again, opening a safe passage that could only be reached in half a minute. Go, go, go. He hurriedly strode forward. Behind him, the power of the first magnetic stone had been worn out. With a bang, it could no longer disrupt the array formation and exploded into pieces. Ling Han was still throwing magnetic stones, but this time, he miscalculated, or rather, the power of the array formation was too great. Bang, a huge force struck, causing Ling Han's chest to boil, and he almost fell to the side. He hurriedly stabilized his body. If he fell out of the path opened by the magnetic stones, he would be easily crushed by the array formation. Fortunately, he succeeded. He did not dare to stay. He had to continue creating the magnetic stone barrier immediately to interfere with the array formation. Otherwise, when the previous suppression wore off, he would be finished. Therefore, cracking the array formation was an extremely dangerous thing. The moment the second magnetic stone exploded, Ling Han threw out a third magnetic stone in time, once again stabilizing the array formation. As one magnetic stone after another was thrown out, Ling Han walked further and further away, getting closer and closer to the fruit tree. 10 minutes later, Ling Han finally walked the short distance of 300 feet. He felt a chill on his back, and he was covered in cold sweat. This journey was really too dangerous, and he was almost consigned to eternal damnation. It was good that he was here. He rested for a while and planned to pick the fruit before returning. However, before he could stand up, a powerful pressure attacked him, causing his chest to suffocate. It was indescribably uncomfortable. Hey! Ling Han was startled. He seemed to have heard a voice telling him that he couldn't pluck the fruit yet, because it hadn't fully ripened yet. This voice was very indistinct and very weak, causing him to doubt whether there was something wrong with his ears. The pressure disappeared. However, when Ling Han once again had the thought of plucking the fruit, this pressure came again. Ling Han couldn't help but have a strange expression. No wonder, this pressure came from the Phoenix King tree. It was also this old tree that had spoken to him earlier. This tree was really old. Although it wasn't tall, one could tell that it had been around for hundreds of years. Did it become a spirit? Since that was the case, he would wait for a few days. In any case, there was no array formation under the big tree. As long as he didn't walk out of this area, he would be very safe. Cultivation. Ling Han went to explore the sixth hidden vein. He had been working hard for the past few days, but as the number of hidden veins opened increased, even a monster like him could not complete the breakthrough in 2 or 3 days. 1 day, 2 days, 3 days. Ling Han still hadn't been able to capture the sixth hidden vein, but he wasn't anxious. This wasn't something that could be accomplished in a single move in the first place. Moreover, as a former ultimate elite, he clearly knew that once his heart was in chaos, he wouldn't be able to accomplish anything. Another 3 days passed. When the sun rose, Ling Han's body trembled slightly. There was an opening in his sixth hidden meridian. Everything was difficult at the beginning. After opening an opening in the meridian, the following things were simple. Half an hour later, the sixth hidden meridian was completely opened. He still couldn't pick the fruit. Then he set up the array. Ling Han set up the nouveau riche array. This area was very small. After activating the array, he continued to cultivate. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. His cultivation increased rapidly. Half a day later, Ling Han's sixth hidden meridian had expanded to its limit. He continued to explore the seventh hidden meridian. It seemed like it had to be like this. If he couldn't pick the fruit, what could he do? Wait. When the fruit ripened, would there be anyone to remind him? Ling Han immediately thought of picking the fruit again. This time, there was no more pressure. That's enough. He climbed up the tree, and very smoothly picked a bright red fruit, then another, and another, until all 5 red fruits were in his pocket. Where are the small green fruits? Bam! As soon as this thought appeared, he was shaken off the tree trunk. Should he wait for these green fruits to ripen? Ling Han thought about it and shook his head. These few days, he had seen the growth of the small green fruits. According to his calculations, it would take at least half a year for these small green fruits to ripen. It was too long. Let's go. At most, he would come back in half a year. After all, these fruits could be hung on the branches for a long time. If there were 5, It should be enough for him to advance to the first blood-changing realm without harming his body. Return. He still used the magnet to open the way. Because he had already done it once, it was, of course, easy. Ling Han arrived at the foot of the mountain. Before he had completely walked out of the array, he saw a man sitting cross-legged on a rock in front of him. He didn't know how long he had been sitting there. It was as if he had become one with the rock. Expert. Ling Han immediately said in his heart. There seemed to be an ancient giant beast hidden in this person's body. The pressure it gave him was even more terrifying than Lian Shuarong's. A fourth transformation, or even a fifth transformation existence. Ling Han stopped in his tracks. The place where he and the man were standing was the area affected by the second array base that he had turned off. Because it was turned off, this place naturally became safe. He couldn't help but have a strange expression. If he suddenly turned on the array base, would the man be instantly killed? It was really possible. You finally appeared. The man stretched. You really made me wait. Oh, then I'm really sorry. Ling Han nodded and smiled. Your Excellency, why are you looking for me? In your hands, there should be something that doesn't belong to you. Now, return it to me. The man said. He crossed his legs, looking indifferent. Indeed, he was just a mere 12 meridians cultivator. So what if he had opened his hidden meridians? He was a fifth blood-changing realm cultivator. Even a third transformation could be instantly killed. Oh, is it this thing? Ling Han took out the blood-colored crystal. Not bad. The man revealed a smile, as if relieved of a heavy burden. Now, throw it over. He wagged his finger. Don't even think about escaping. You need at least 3 seconds to carve the magnet. This amount of time is enough for me to kill you several times over. He thought that Ling Han had used the magnet here. Ling Han readily agreed. All right, I won't run. That's more like it. The man nodded. Seeing that you've been so cooperative, I'll let you die a quick death. You won't spare my life. Ling Han revealed a smile. This kid's reaction was a little strange. But so what? The man grinned. You know too much. How can I let you live? Moreover, even if you return to Hidden Tiger City, you'll only live for a few more days. You'll still die. What did the last sentence mean? Ling Han shook his head. If you insist on killing me, then I'm sorry, I won't surrender. Is that up to you? The man stood up and took a step forward. But at this moment, bang, a terrifying bolt of lightning streaked across, striking towards him. F***CK, what was going on? Cell phone reading is more refreshing. Chapter 32:13. A Good Romance. BQG 6. The man hurriedly dodged, but as soon as he stepped down, boom, another wave of raging flames came at him. The power was still extremely terrifying. He had no choice but to press his palm against it. Bam! The power of the raging flames was very strong. Under the collision, he couldn't help but stagger and fall to the side. In other places, it would be normal for one's body to be shaken to the point of slanting from the impact, and there would be no harm. But here, bam bam bam, for a moment, the ice was like a sword, the thunder and lightning intertwined, the raging flames surged, and the golden light shone. It was as if all the strange phenomena in the natural world were concentrated in such a small area. The man was very injured. He screamed as he resisted, and he was in an extremely sorry state. Finally, he set foot in a safe place, but he didn't dare to move at all. He was gasping for breath. In just a dozen or so seconds, half of his hair had been burned off, his left ear was frozen, and the clothes on his right arm were tattered and bloody wounds could be seen. There was even a hole in his abdomen that was almost pierced through. The man's face was full of disbelief. He took a step, and under the chain reaction, he was seriously injured and almost died. What was going on? Ling Han smiled and said, It seems that it won't be so easy for you to kill me. He had just activated the underground array base with his psychic power. It was said that this was the advantage of psychic power. It couldn't be seen, couldn't be heard, and could only be resisted by the same kind of psychic power. Therefore, the man didn't realize that the array in the area he was in had been reactivated by Ling Han. But very coincidentally, The place where he was standing just now happened to be a safe area, so the array didn't activate. But then he moved, heh. Huff, huff. The man panted heavily as he stared at Ling Han. There was an indescribable shock on his face. Why did the formation here suddenly activate? Ling Han spread his hands. I think I accidentally touched some trigger switch. Accidentally? What the hell? The man originally thought that the array in this area couldn't take effect because it was too old and damaged too much. But now that he thought about it, it should be that Ling Han had already turned off the array and dug a trap for him. Hiss, did this kid know that I was tracking him? What a shrewd person. He had wronged Ling Han, because Ling Han's original intention was to make it more convenient for him to go down the mountain. The man looked left and right, but in a situation where the array formation was not triggered, everything was no different from the normal environment. How could he tell? I really underestimated you, the man said coldly. Ling Han stopped smiling. Tell me, who sent you here? Haha, are you interrogating me? Laughed the man, his face filled with ridicule. So what if you've opened your hidden meridian? In front of the power of my fifth transformation, you're nothing more than trash. Under normal circumstances, that would indeed be the case. Ling Han nodded. Honestly speaking, he was no match for a 5 changes master. The gap between them was too great. But now that you're trapped in the formation, how much combat power can you display? The man was speechless. Right now, he was completely trapped and didn't dare to move at all. Even if he had a powerful battle strength, would he be able to use it? Right now, the initiative was in Ling Han's hands. Fine, I won't kill you for now. How about you close the formation? Asked the man. Ling Han laughed. First, show me your sincerity. What kind of sincerity? For example, what's your name? You know my name, but I don't know yours. Isn't that a bit rude? Laughed Ling Han. That's true, it's very rude. The man nodded. Although his heart was filled with hatred, he had no choice but to smile. I'm Chadun. Oh, brother Cha. Ling Han cupped his fists and bowed. Brother Chadun really wanted to slap Ling Han's face. Did you know that the difference of an entire realm was an absolute suppression? You had to maintain absolute respect and call him Lord or Senior. Brother Cha, fuck. But not only did Chadun not explode with rage, he even smiled. Now, you can show me your sincerity. Ling Han smiled faintly and continued, you were the one who kidnapped Tang Hai, weren't you? If a 5th transformation realm expert barged into the black-green flag, he could, of course, avoid Lian Shuarong and capture Tang Hai without anyone noticing. Chadun fell silent. After a while, he said, that's right, I kidnapped him. Why did you do that? Asked Ling Han. You already know the answer. Of course it's because of that blood divine crystal in your hand. Oh. Ling Han tossed the blood-colored crystal in his hand. Then who sent you? What makes you think I'm working for someone else? Asked Chadun. Ling Han shook his head. To be able to raise such a beast and have 3 12 Meridian cultivators guard it, and those 3 12 Meridian cultivators are much stronger than other cultivators of the same level. That's not something a 5th transformation like you can do. So you're just a pawn working for someone else. Chadun's face turned green from the provocation of the word pawn, but Ling Han was not wrong. He was indeed only a pawn, and he was even a pawn of a pawn. He did not know who his biggest backer was. Young man, some things are too dangerous for you. The more you know, the faster you'll die, said Chadun with a disdainful expression. His understanding of the organization he worked so hard for was only the tip of the iceberg, but that little bit was enough for him to know that it was a colossus. Ling Han observed Chadun's expression and suddenly said, I'm afraid you don't know who your real boss is either, do you? This, Chadun's expression immediately changed. Who says I don't know? I just don't want to tell you. He was a person who cared a lot about his face. Wasn't it incomparably embarrassing for a 5th transformation expert to not even know who his boss was? Since this guy didn't know, then there was no need to waste time. What did you say would happen to Hidden Tiger City? Ling Han changed the topic. Cha Duyuan wasn't willing to let it go just like that. He emphasized, "Of course I know who my boss is, but I definitely won't tell you." This could be considered a knot in his heart. In fact, he had always wanted to know who he was working for. Now that he was provoked by Ling Han, he finally let it out. Ling Han chuckled. All right. I believe you. Be a good boy and stop fooling around. Let's get down to business. Do you think I'm a 3-year-old? Cha Duyuan snorted. I've already shown enough sincerity. What about you? Ling Han laughed. You didn't say anything that should have been said. You really know how to avoid the important and dwell on the trivial. Then don't even think about knowing anything, said Cha Duyuan coldly. Reading on the phone is more refreshing. Chapter 32:14. A Good Romance. BQG 6. CC Fine, since you're so stubborn, I'll respect you as a man. Ling Han nodded. Hurry up and close the formation, shouted Cha Duyuan. Ling Han's gaze was sharp. Since you admit to killing Tang Hai, you still want me to let you live? You're just 12 meridians. Cha Duyuan's face was full of disdain. So what if I killed him? Do you want me to pay with my life? A life for a life. That's right. Ling Han nodded. Cha Duyuan sneered. Junior, the only reason I'm tolerating you is because I don't want to pay too great a price. Do you really think this formation can trap me? Your legs are on your body, and they're not tied up. If you want to leave, go ahead. Ling Han waved his hand. Cha Duyuan clenched his teeth. If he could leave, he would have done so long ago. Why would he need to be blackmailed by Ling Han? Turning his tone gentle, he said, Junior, we can both take a step back. As long as you give me the Blood God crystal and hide your name, I'll treat you as a dead person and never cause trouble for you again. How about it? No. Ling Han shook his head. Junior, don't think you're at a disadvantage. Our organization is far stronger than you can imagine. Even if I die, there will still be people coming to deal with you. You might be able to block them with your luck this time, but what about in the future? Cha Duyuan persuaded. He found his injuries were far more serious than he had expected. He couldn't drag this out any longer, or just the blood loss would kill him. Even if you can block someone at the blood transformation realm, so what if they're at the peak bone realm? As a captive, I have to admit you're quite eloquent, laughed Ling Han. Captive? Which eye of yours sees me as a captive? Junior, don't walk further and further down the wrong path, threatened Cha Duyuan. He had lost his patience. His injuries were growing more and more serious, and he felt like everything in front of him was shaking. No, he had to receive treatment. But in order to make it easier to travel, he had hidden his luggage in a cave at the foot of the mountain. It was at least half an hour's journey from here. Who would have thought that he would be forced into such a miserable state by a meridian opening expert? I thought I caught a big fish, but it turned out to be just a small shrimp. Ling Han shook his head. Junior. Cha Duyuan roared. He really couldn't hold on any longer. How is this feeling of helplessness? Asked Ling Han. When you tortured Tang Hai back then, Tang Hai probably felt the same way. Now, you can taste it for yourself. Cha Duyuan glared at Ling Han. In his eyes, 12 meridians were no different from ants, but now Ling Han had actually compared him to Tang Hai, causing him to be extremely unhappy. Junior, I'm going to kill you, he said harshly. If Ling Han still didn't let him leave, he would kill Ling Han to accompany him in death even if he had to die. Wrong, I killed you. Ling Han strode forward. The route he took was very strange, sometimes to the right, sometimes to the left. This was the safe way out of the formation. Cha Duyuan was surprised and delighted. This kid actually walked out. Haha, are you here to die? Cha Duyuan sneered. This kid must have thought that he was heavily injured and his strength had fallen, so he wanted to personally kill him. First, that would be the best way to get revenge, and second, to kill someone at the 5 changes of blood transformation as a meridian opening expert. What kind of accomplishment would that be? Although he was heavily injured, his battle strength was still at the 1st or 2nd changes of blood transformation. It was more than enough to kill a 12 meridians cultivator. He waited quietly. As soon as Ling Han walked into his attack range, he would immediately attack. 1, 2, 3, kill. He suddenly slapped out with his claw. Bang, the power superimposed, turning into a claw that could be seen with the naked eye. It made a sonic boom as it clawed at Ling Han. Die. Peng, this punch was similarly layered with heavy power, and transformed into an iron fist that could be seen with the naked eye, which blasted towards Cha De Yuan. The power of the fist and claw collided, causing a deafening sound. It also caused a backlash from the formation. Thunder, sparks, and ice energy flew everywhere. Luckily, the two of them were now in a safe area. As long as they didn't leave their position, the formation's attack wouldn't hit them. Cha De Yuan immediately revealed a shocked expression. In this exchange, he actually hadn't been able to gain the upper hand. Hiss, could it be that his injuries were so severe that he couldn't even beat a meridian opening expert? Ling Han smiled. After reaching the peak of 18 meridians, his strength was about 250,000 pounds. Most likely, a peak first transformation expert would only have this much strength. How about it, he said. Cha De Yuan gritted his teeth. He had done a lot of research on Ling Han and knew that he had opened several hidden meridians. His strength was far stronger than ordinary opening meridian opening experts. But how much stronger was the strength that Ling Han had displayed compared to the information he had gathered? In less than a month, could it be that this kid had opened a few more hidden meridians? Damn, that was too exaggerated. Ling Han's sudden attack was already a sure win. Brat, you're going too far. Cha De Yuan roared furiously, incomparably sullen. Just how powerful was his true strength? He could have slapped Ling Han to death with a wave of his hand. But now he was being bullied like a noob. How could he not be infuriated? Die, die, die. He roared and unleashed a martial technique. His battle prowess instantly skyrocketed. However, he was already heavily injured, and now that he used his full strength, his wounds became even more severe. Fresh blood seemed to be squeezed out of his wounds, spraying out in all directions. Do you think I'm afraid of you? Ling Han used the demon monkey fist. 15 layers of power stacked on top of each other as he attacked Cha De Yuan. Bang, bang, bang. Their forces collided and blocked each other. But Cha De Yuan's power was only stacked up to 9 layers. After using up all 9 layers, Ling Han's 6 layers of power came crashing over. How was he supposed to block them? Each layer of power had reached 200,000 pounds. Under the attack of 6 layers of power, he was directly blown apart. A mighty 5 transformation expert had died in an incomparably useless manner. Ling Han stopped and murmured, "Captain, you've already taken half of your revenge. I still haven't found the culprit behind this. When I become even stronger in the future, I definitely won't let that person get away scot-free." He went to check Cha De Yuan's corpse. He didn't know if he had any sort of command medallion or something like that on him. He might be able to find some clues about the power behind him. Hey! He was shocked, not because he had found some clues, but because Cha De Yuan's bones had actually been shattered. This was caused by my fist force. Ling Han was shocked. He knew that his current strength had greatly increased. 15 layers of power stacked together was definitely incomparably powerful. But could it really shatter the bones of a 5 transformation expert? This was caused by the final blow. At the point of impact, the bones turned into powder and then spread outwards. The degree of shattering became lighter and lighter. Until here, it was about a foot in radius. Shattered. That's a little inconceivable. Thinking back carefully, that state does seem somewhat different. Reading on the phone was more refreshing. You're tuning in to the Celestial War YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.